I'm Jerrie Johnson, and you're listening to You Might Know Her From with Damian and Ann.
Well, it happened. Kim Cattrall saw us.
Ooh, did you or did you not get a birthday message from Kimmy Cattrall?
I sure did. Here I was hanging with my friends for my birthday, enjoying a cocktail of vodka lemonade that I was calling Liverpool's Cleopatra, which of course is what Kim's gravestone says.
She had it engraved early. I know we've talked about it 8,000 times on this podcast, but it's very important that people know that she put it on her gravestone in advance of her death.
Yeah. She's prepared. So I got a notification on my phone, though, as people were arriving to hang. And it was from our friend John, and he had said, like, oh my gosh. And I was like, oh, I didn't see this. And I had tweeted at her something that I, forgot I tweeted that was like, mannequin's not streaming Kim, and it's my birthday. But she responded and said, happy birthday. And wow, I mean, I just flew on cloud nine for the whole night, folks.
It was a blessing on your birthday. So happy birthday to you and to all of us. It was really a great night.
Oh, well, thank you, and thank you for being here. Welcome to another episode of You Might Know Her From.
With Damian and Ann.
It is me, Damian.
It is me, Ann, and this is the great time of year where Damian and I are the same age for another 6 or 7 months, whatever the separation is between us. I always like that period of time. For your birthday celebration on your actual birthday, we did something that is very old school us, which is got on a New Jersey Transit train, and I did the very old school thing of I printed out MapQuest directions because I didn't trust my phone to not die, and I also had a charger pack in my bag because my phone dies every 3 seconds. So I literally just had printed out things and which train we needed to take, as if I have never taken a train on the East Coast before. It was New Jersey Transit is surprisingly confusing to me.
We did a very us type of behavior, which is to say you had train times written in ineligible on a piece of paper, scrap paper,
yes.
And then on the other side of it had maps and things. You had printed stuff out and wrote stuff down. And I did my very me thing, which was just running up to people and we're like, hello, is this leave at this time? Hello, am I on the does this train stop in Hoboken? Great. And get on.
I appreciate you because I always want to present as a person that knows, but then it's you see the train time, you go to the track, but then I'm always standing in front of some big train and I'm well, there's no sign on it and so it's I just imagine myself getting on a train to the wrong destination. So I appreciate your ability to ask questions because I get too embarrassed sometimes to ask. So
I just go with it.
We did have vodka and Kahlua nips on the train. That was a beautiful addition. I feel that's the commuter life that I admire. We went to go see this thing, which is Clue, which we thought at first was Clue the musical at Papermill Playhouse in New Jersey, one of the most famed regional houses in the United States, where Betty Buckley once played Mama Rose, and Arthur Laurents said, "You're terrible." And so we were so excited because previous guest of this show, Denny Dillon, played who? Damian, the inspector, right?
She's
Clue,
the
musical.
detective in this 1987 off-Broadway flop that played at the Players Theater, where I have done improv, and Denny was the detective in that production of Clue. So we were yes, someone is reviving the off-Broadway flop. We're going to Papermill to see it. This is going to be great. I felt I saw some pictures, and I was oh, they're doing nice nods to the movie with some of the costumes and things. And then we got there.
Definitely a play based on the film.
Yeah, not a
Which
musical.
just means they cribbed the entire script. And so it was just actors doing lines of dialogue flames on the side of my face, but less funny. They cut the red herring joke. I don't know. They kept some stuff, cut others, and then inserted more gay jokes, which was interesting.
I looked over to Anne at one point, and I was so also Hunter Foster is the third billed writer on it. It's 2 other writers, and it's an additional material by Hunter Foster, and I was okay. And so at a certain point, there's this homophobic joke going on about Mr. Green putting his hand down Mr. Body's pocket to retrieve the key, and I was what is happening? Whatever worked in the movie, just you should have copied it. And I look over at Anne to say this is homophobic. I watch as she's in a lucid sleep. I can see her eyes are closing, but she's like awake, and I try to say to her like, this is homophobic, but I have a mask on, so like I'm being quiet, so because she's asleep, she can't hear me, and I'm like, okay, so it was only after the show that I said, oh, I made a joke. This is me. I have to tell her the joke I made in the moment. I said, oh, I made a joke about Hunter Foster writing homophobic jokes, and Anne was like, what? And then I said, that Mr. Green bit, you were asleep, and she was like, yeah, I needed to take a break. We became.
I hate that I'm a person that can now fall asleep in the theater. I used to be so mad when people next to me would be falling asleep. I'd be so rude. Look, it just happens. Sometimes you can keep your eyes open and glaze over for a little bit. It's okay. But the highlight of the show, I have to say, first of all, Kathy Fitzgerald, who is a long-term Madame Morrible, was excellent as Mrs. Peacock, best in show, no question. Maybe we should have her for the show. She was very good.
Yeah, she was like sort of doing Eileen Brennan, but also not.
Yeah, she definitely had her own spin on it, which was nice. And there was a woman in front of us who I really would describe as Cindy McCain from the back. She looked like Cindy McCain. And she was like doing this thing where she was leaning sort of into her partner, whoever she was on a date with, her husband, person, whatever. But then it looked at a certain point, I leaned over to Damian. I was like, she's giving him a hand job, like during the I thought she was, because she was so far into his lap. But then she was really like heaving laughter. At one point, she threw her arms straight up in the air. And then at other moments, she was leaning back so far that her head was almost in my face. So we loved her. And then when the show got out, of course, we tried to walk as closely to her as possible. Just to see what was happening there.
This became the most interesting piece of the night. That I was laughing during the whole show, and because I was watching
her reactions. Oh my God. When she got out, she was in heels and the floor is carpeted, and she was wobbling around on the carpet in her heels. I was like, oh, she's wasted. And the man she was with was behind me, and he was heaving breaths on the back of my neck, and he smelled like salami. And he kept going like, ugh, ugh. And I think he was concerned about her because she looked like she was about to fall over. So, maybe that's what awaits us in our future. Maybe they got drunk and thought they were seeing Clue the musical too.
Well, and then we went home. We took New Jersey Transit home. We toasted with Kahlua. And if there's any reason to take Amtrak over New Jersey Transit, it is for sure the lighting, if nothing else. Like the light of New Jersey Transit when you're coming back from somewhere always feels like the day after you had a rager. It's like watching the sun come up when you're still awake and you're like, what am I doing with my life? That's what the New Jersey Transit lights feel like as you're going back to New York, and you're like, I know the fucking A train isn't running, and you're just and it's like you just feel like, why did I make this choice? On the way home, we had a great time. We were talking about Patti LuPone being in the movie Union Square, which I'm always happy to remember exists. And we just had a ball of a time. So thanks, Anne, for that adventure. And thank y'all for listening to us recap it for each other.
For each other. I love you so much. It was a good birthday week. So welcome to 38. And folks, we love you. We miss you. Guess what? The weather is nice today outside in New York City. We hope that you are having a great week. If you are new to You Might Know Her From, this is the show where Damian and I, best friends, longtime collaborators, general pop culture savants, chew the fat about like things that are happening in our daily lives, our failing bodies, what movies we're watching, what books we're reading, etc. And also, we interview an actress each episode. And so if that's what you're here for, let's get right into it, because this week we had somebody that piqued both of our interests based on this show that we were both consuming, which is, of course, Harlem on Amazon Prime. Tracy Oliver's new show about 4 women living in Harlem, like the ups and downs of their like professional and personal lives and their friendships. And this week's guest, Jerrie Johnson, plays Ty, a queer woman who is like stunning, smart, successful, and generally very funny. Also, like, kind of the backbone of the series, I think. She is, I think, the closest friend to Meagan Good, and I really I love their scenes together. So she was someone that was very interesting to both of us, and we were so excited to land her.
You might know her from one of our recent obsessions, the Amazon Prime series, Harlem. Big day here on the show. We are here with actress, poet, and advocate, Jerrie Johnson. Jerrie, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. I so appreciate this.
We're very excited to have you because we are currently obsessed with Harlem. And of course, you play Ty, a queer tech entrepreneur on Tracy Oliver's latest Amazon Prime series. And this is your first series regular role, and it's such a buzzy, high-profile gig. So we were wondering if you can talk about the audition process for Harlem and how the four of you, Meagan Good, Grace Byers, Shoniqua Shandai, and yourself established this friend chemistry that feels really like natural, quippy, and like lived in.
Yes. So I auditioned for the show sometime in October. I was like auditioning for all these things. I just felt like I was meant to be a series regular. I had just graduated grad school and I was like, yeah, like what is the thing, like the new thing? And so I got really specific after a while of what I wanted. And then the next day I got 2 auditions, which was for Good Trouble and for Harlem. So I did the audition for Harlem. I got the call right after the audition. Hey, Jerrie, we don't know when the producer session is, but the casting agent said you definitely have a producer session. So I was like, oh, wow, great. And so then we had a producer session not soon after that. And it was amazing. And I was in the room with Scott and Tracy and a lot of their assistants. And then they were like, okay, we're trying to do a chemistry read. And I was also shooting, because I had booked Good Trouble. I was also shooting Good Trouble. So I had like a 12-hour day on Good Trouble. And in the middle of that, I had to run to the other side of town to do a chemistry read, which was a completely different character, which means I had to take off my makeup and all of that, get into Thai mode, and then do an audition, and then go back and get into hair and makeup to go back to Good Trouble. And when I was there, my manager said, Grace is also with our management team. So, say hi. So we sat down and Grace and I talked for like so long. And Shoniqua was also there. And then there were other women who were auditioning for the Camille character. And so we went in to do combinations of the 4 girls. And when we did, first, after I did my initial audition, they sent the rest of the Thais home. There were 2 other people auditioning for Thai. They were sent home. So when we sat down, all 4 of us, it was like Grace and I were saying the same ad-libs at the same time. It was like so kismet. It was crazy. And so I just felt like, I don't know what's going to happen, girl, but we have to be these characters. Then there was another chemistry read because they needed to figure out who Camille was going to be. They were like, okay, we're doing a chemistry read with Camille. It's Meagan Good. And Grace and Meagan have already been friends. And Shoniqua had been manifesting working with Meagan. And this was my first time meeting her. So we go in to do the chemistry read. This is the second one now. And I have now booked the job. Grace has booked the job. And so now it's like, they're trying to figure out if Shoniqua has booked the job, and Shoniqua is brilliant, right? She should never have done this twice, but whatever. And then they're trying to find the Camille. So I remember being in the room with Meagan, and she had these heels on, they were like these thick boots with this thick sole. And she said, I think I should take these off because it'll be funnier because I'm so tall. She takes the heel off and she drops like 5 inches and everybody just starts laughing. And it just was like, wow, these girls are amazing. And so it feels like our friendship just developed there. I think it is a testament to the writers and the producers wanting people who can embody the role and not just like, oh, this person has a name and this person has a name, so we're going to choose these people. And we prayed over each other before we shot the first scene of the season that we did together. And it was just from there, it was like very, very supportive. On set, it's like if you need something, all the girls are coming to your rescue. What is it? How can we help? And it's so authentic and it feels like such a deep ancestral sisterhood. So I feel blessed and I'm glad that people get to see it, like that it's translated on the screen, because those group scenes, y'all, we are having so much fun.
It totally comes across that you're having fun and that like that chemistry, it's just so easy, which I think is what makes you excited to watch a show like that. Like it reminds me, and I know this comparison probably comes up a lot, but like it reminds me of like old school Sex and the City, like that frenetic energy of just watching people, like fire on all cylinders. Like it feels like real friends, and that's so lovely.
Yes. I love that. I love that you can feel that.
You've said that the dialogue for Harlem came really easy to you, but we also know that you're a poet and a writer. So is there ever a time when you get a script and you're like tweaking Ty's dialogue like automatically, or do you compartmentalize that part of yourself?
No, it's so hard. So when I get when I'm auditioning for something, I get the script, and I have read the script and I have made up in my mind that the writing is bad. It's like I'm tripping over my words because my mind, and I'm an Aquarius, but I'm a Virgo moon and a Virgo rising. So my mind is editing the script while my lips are trying to respect what the writer wrote. And it's just so much dissonance. So I was blessed to work with these writers. And also, it's a collaborative process. So a lot of stuff we just throw at the wall. We say crazy shit, and a lot of it made it. So there's that.
One of Ty's storylines that we loved was something that feels kind of revolutionary when you're talking about like a mainstream comedy, and that's the conversation of queer women dating mask for mask. And like Ty dates Shayla, and that's in the first, that's in the pilot, and they are really into each other, but there is also this sort of tension about the sort of dynamic, the power dynamic between the two of them. Was that something that was in the pilot when you read it? And was that appealing? Because for us, I feel like it felt revolutionary seeing that on TV, because even in shows with like a full lesbian cast, like The L Word and 2 years of a reboot, like there was none of that represented on TV.
Yeah, I think it was so special because I feel like I am more of a fluid person. I feel like my presentation since the discovery of Ty has transitioned to a more masculine presentation. But before, I'm like gowns, dresses, but in the inside, I feel more masculine of center. And I feel like sometimes in the queer world, the way it's presented on TV is so binary, right? It's still that heteronormative, monogamous framework that's like, okay, even if it's going to be two men or two women, there has to be the feminine performing, there has to be the masculine performing. And it's just not the way real life works, And so being able to explore that and see how it works or doesn't work, I think was beautiful. And I was like, that's why reading the pilot, there was stuff that was being said that I was like, I know this, and I know that this is real, and I've never seen this on screen before. And so that was important to me.
Like, do you feel like they had a queer voice, like, in the room? Was that part of it? Or do you feel like you were able to sort of bring stuff to the show? Or was it a combination of the both?
Combination of both, but one of the women who also had auditioned for Ty is one of the main writers for Ty. And it's like a lot of her storyline. And so she's lived it, and it feels right and true. And it was the first time she had expressed to me that she was in a writer's room that was Black female dominated, where there wasn't hierarchies. And so she had usually been the only Black person in a writer's room, let alone the only Black woman. And to be in this writer's room where you could pitch ideas and like people listen to your ideas. So a lot of it was her brilliance. And then I would have conversations about stuff, but I definitely did not write Ty. That's definitely her, yes.
So Harlem, like we said, is a comedy, but in 10 episodes, they cover a lot of ground, I think with honestly a light touch, which is what we loved about it. But like we cover Angie dating a bisexual man without blinking. Quinn is open to sort of her own fluidity by the end of the series. Ty argues with Angie about respectability politics and white gatekeeping and what it means for her to be dating a white woman. Like how much of the show's politics and sort of the projects that you're looking at in general is part of you saying yes to something? And did you know the sort of tone and the socio-political vibe of the show when you went into it?
Initially, I got what I got from the pilot, and they gave me 3 scenes to audition with, but I already knew like the writing was good. As we sat down to do the table read, and we had 7 of the episodes. We didn't get the last 3 episodes until after coming back after the pandemic. They had them, but they held them from us.
Okay.
So even it wasn't until 2021, top of 2021, when we started in 2020 that we knew what would happen on those last 3 episodes. But I feel like as I was reading it's like a page turner, and now we can see it on screen how it does that. But I think it's so important to touch on some of the stuff because it is real life, and I don't think that they are in any way trying to like make a statement about something. They're just trying to say what's true, right? And so a lot of times for Black women in particular, in my experience, right, viewing Black women on screen, it's like we can never go too deep. We just gotta hover over something. And so for this to be four women, four very different women with four very different character arcs, and all of them go through all of these like strong things, to me is a testament to the brilliance of the writing, but also is what I want as an artist always, right? I want people to be saying something about something, to be saying something that we've never heard before, and to be saying something that starts conversations. I've had so many people come up to me talking about fibroids. And I was like, well, I have an aunt who deals with that still, and I have not. But the fact that like reading it, like I knew, right? Like that it was gonna, but I didn't know how many people would be like, I know what this is. So there are also those things that come up that I'm like, wow, this actually was prolific, but I didn't know in the midst of it, like that it was just, I'm just having fun and doing my job and doing the work. And I know what it means to me, but I definitely am so overwhelmed in all the best ways just with the effect that those socio-political storylines have had on people who've watched the show.
Yeah, and somehow it manages to be like laugh out loud funny at the same time and be 35 minutes, which for me is the game changer in terms of programming. It's like I don't need to sit through an hour of a show anymore for it to like be, beleaguer every single point. I feel like the tone of it was really perfect.
Precisely. Thank you.
So we loved that the queer character, maybe had the most sex scenes on the show. So two-part question. Was there an intimacy coordinator on the set, like on those days? And what was that like, working with them?
Chelsea is our intimacy coordinator, and she was definitely there. And then there was a queer non-binary person who came back after the pandemic because Chelsea had a newborn. And it was fun. It was collaborative. For me, I just felt like, one, I love a good sex scene, right? And I was not afraid of it.
I would think that'd have to be scary, though, because this is your first, like, big thing, and you're, like,
doing sex. Do you know, I wasn't nervous until people kept asking me, was I nervous? And I'm like, should I be? But my Christian auntie definitely gave me a call, and she's definitely blocked now. But that's another story. Yeah. But I feel like, one, I have queer sex all the time, but I just don't feel like, I feel like usually when I see it on TV, it feels like it's for the male gaze. It feels like hot women coming together to have, and it's not like, oh, like things happen during sex. Like, sometimes it is a little awkward. Sometimes it is very beautiful and we move in different ways. And so to me, it matters to me that the queer sex is a true representation of queer sex that or at least from my perspective. So we did have an intimacy coordinator, and she was open to like, okay, well, what do you want to do? How can we do that? How can we make that possible? But the thing that was hard was all of the sex scenes were filmed in one day because of the location. So I was there for about 12, 13 hours, and Shayla and Anna happened on the same day. So by the time Shayla came, which was like 10 p.m., 11 p.m., I was delusional. I don't even know how that scene worked because I was just out of it. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So part of Ty's storyline is dealing with sort of her own privacy, whether it's her own history or her current health troubles. Like, did you know all of the secrets that sort of got revealed later on from the outset? And did you use those to sort of build her character, or did you only learn about them like when you got the script for the subway scene?
Those last 3 episodes have so much in them.
Yeah.
And I have to say that I did not know that Ty was from Atlanta.
Right.
When I first,
she has a lot going on in those episodes.
Yes, and I was like, wow. But I did feel, because it was beautiful working with Malcolm D. Lee on those first 2 episodes, because he did a lot of character building for us. He was asking those questions. Why is Ty friends with these people? What does she love about each of them individually, collectively? Where is she from? What is her family like? And so I was just, getting creative. But I think the family story, I definitely had worked that into, like, how she's experienced so much loss, really. And so how does that play into how fearless or how passionate she is about work, and what is that overcompensating for? And then I think definitely the Brandon stuff was a little, I did put some layers of that as we were going, remembering, like, you have a whole life, a whole other life, and what does that mean about how you engage with the people that you love, how close or not so close that you can get, or, the time you did get close, what happened? So it's proven your point, right, in your mind that you can't go there. And so there's always like this, you can only get her so close until everything falls apart, which is what happens when we hold in our emotions. It turns into dis-ease or disease. Yeah, definitely trying to paint those colors, and they make it really clear. So I'm glad that the whole character is so meaty, that when we did get the information for the last 3 episodes, it wasn't like, oh my God, now I have to play this a totally different way because I've been doing this the whole time.
Yeah. So we know you probably can't say anything, but is there any word on a season 2 renewal?
I am pretty sure that we will be going back for season 2. I don't know when they are making the official call. I have not gotten the official call, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're here for it.
Period.
Okay, so you received your MFA from ACT, American Conservatory Theater, and your stage credits include things like As You Like It, The Bacchae, Twelfth Night, Waiting for Godot, and The Changeling. So do you have theater ambitions, or now that you're on Harlem, is the focus right now sort of film and TV?
I feel like I want to do a movie, just a really good, meaty movie, and go to the stage somewhere. I just love live theater. I feel like, and maybe this is biased for me to say, but I'm going to say it. I feel like I'm really good live. I'm really good in person. I'm just that kind of person. And I love Shakespeare so much. And I remember the first professional gig that I got when I first graduated was Titania in A Midsummer Night's Dream, and just how beautiful it is to like live in a character day after day after day, and to have people experience it, and to know that those people will be the only people that experience that show in that day. And there's something about that I feel like it's so beautiful. And also I would have to regain the stamina for that, because I feel like I'm like, it is a muscle to doing those things, but definitely want to get back to the stage. So if anybody's looking, here I am.
Well, funny that you say that. So we had heard you say that Ntozake Shange's choreo poem for Colored Girls was the piece that gave you the confidence to pursue acting as a profession. And you directed and started in a production of it in college. Are you trying to get in for this Broadway revival? Are you talking to your people about this?
I did audition. We'll see. It's sounding like it might be a musical. One thing I'm not is a singer.
Okay.
Not, but I can do I can shuck and jive. I can, be up in there. But it's sounding like there will be music. And if they are okay with having a non-singer be a part of the ensemble, because I love that show so much, then I will definitely be there. But if everybody has to sing, I don't know.
Fair enough.
Okay, Jerrie Johnson, we've reached the part of the show that we like to call the rapid fire. It's rapid for us. You can take as much time as you need. It just allows us to get in all of our sort of non sequiturs. So take as much time as you need. Or if you want to be rapid, be rapid.
I like it. I rap it.
Jerrie, lesbians and queer women are thirsting for Ty. We searched your name on Twitter, and it's like super serious. I don't know if you're going down that rabbit hole, but when you're in the streets of Harlem, is it a mob scene now? And if so, what is the most intense fan reaction that you've had thus far?
Okay, yes. So most of my friends are queer men. So I'm mostly at queer male parties, and I'm realizing that queer men love Ty. But the most intense reaction, I was walking my dog and simultaneously bringing my groceries home from Whole Foods, and a girl stopped in front of me and almost had a panic attack. What? Now you know the curb is only but so big. I have heavy ass bags. I got my damn dog, and you gonna have a panic? I can't help you. And she couldn't even get like there was nothing. She didn't want a picture. She just couldn't even say what she needed to say. So for me, those things are always like, what do I? Yeah,
You just have to walk away.
Yes, precisely.
Yeah.
Okay, so your character on the aforementioned Good Trouble is also named Ty, also spelled Tye. And to be honest, this is for us better than the history of TV calling queer characters Kai. Is Ty the new Kai? What the fuck it gives with the names?
It might be. I hope so. People better stop calling me Ty though.
Okay, here on the show, I'm a lesbian. Damian and I are lesbian enthusiasts. Jerrie Johnson, name your top 5 lesbians.
Ooh. Jonica Gibbs, who is on Twenties on BET. Miriam Hyman, who is on The Shy. We're gonna go with Lena Waithe. Lena Waithe is doing her thing. Me. I'm gonna put me. and
That's 4, right? We need one more.
Yeah, one more.
Samira Wiley.
Orange is the New Black, Handmaid's Tale. Love it.
Perfect.
Honestly, that was the fastest response we've ever had for top 5 lesbians. So thank you. Literally, people
like,
hard press sometimes. You did great.
I was like, do I even know lesbians? Now I'm like confused. I do.
Jerrie, you're from the Philadelphia area. I grew up in the Philadelphia area. Who is a Philadelphia or a Philly celeb that you hope to one day meet and collaborate with? I can list some if you'd like, but I feel like you might have some off the top.
Jasmine Sullivan and I went to the same high school, but she went there some odd years before me. But yes.
Yeah. You weren't in that production of The Wiz with her, but you were familiar with it.
Yes. And our principal at the school, before I graduated, he was like, "You remind me of Jasmine Sullivan," and I was like. But maybe it's my presence because I don't think we look alike. But maybe it's my presence. I'm talking. But yes, Jasmine, we're gonna do something together. I'm gonna be the voice on one of her albums, something. But also, her concert is sold out. Jasmine, give me some tickets.
There we go, putting it into the universe.
Yes.
Maybe you have to go see her in Philly for that Philadelphia VIP. You know,
I want that.
Philly does take care of loves the Philadelphia. Chubby Checker when I was a kid was everywhere. I'm telling you.
I won't even ask who that is.
Oh my God, you know, Jerrie, you know. You're going to look it up after this and you're going to be like, I know the twist. Jerrie Johnson, this has been a total pleasure. Thank you so much for taking time with us to chat. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you all.
Okay, when I tell you that I cannot believe that people in the world do not know who Chubby Checker is, I cannot. I was distraught. I texted my friend David, I don't know why him specifically, and said, "Do you know who Chubby Checker is?" And he said, "Yes." And then a week later was like, "What was that about?" And I was like, I didn't know people didn't know who Chubby Checker was. I know that Jerrie looked it up when we got off the call, and she was like, "Oh, of course I know the twist. Of course I know the twist again." I mean, Chubby Checker was an icon in Philadelphia, and we saw him in concert at Rockorama, which was like an oldies concert in Philadelphia when I was a kid because my dad was from.
I loved those kind of things where it was just like all the legends.
Yeah, it was just like and it was because it's like Philadelphia. There are lots of groups and artists from the area who had sense. Hits. But, came back to this, the city. So, and my dad was from South Philly, so he was very into it. Then they rebranded it into Yo Philadelphia, which I was less into, but, I still love an oldies concert. And I legitimately love Chubby Checker. And then I listened to him all of last week. And I was like, oh, he has so many other good songs.
It's also interesting just to think of what survives, what is canon for future generations. Is Chubby Checker not going to survive the next 50 years in terms of being in part of the public consciousness? Is the twist always going to be at weddings? What is going to help keep Chubby Checker alive in the hearts and minds of Americans, if not us? It's important work. All that being said, Jerrie was so cool and also Like, honestly, when I said she was the first person to be able to name like top 5 lesbians, like off the top of her head, that is what we are here for. The queer representation on Harlem, I think, is really nuanced and interesting and great. And I feel like the show, if you haven't gone and watched it, really highly recommend. It scratches so many itches if you're a person that likes things about female friendships. And I just think it's like, it has a lot of the humor that was lacking from the little known show, and just like that, which we just consumed obsessively, that was true to the original series, Sex and the City. And I feel like it gets back to that sort of like lighthearted, some physical comedy, some really broad comedy, and also some dark stuff. So I just feel like I really loved the whole thing. Also, if you haven't watched the show yet, you've got time to binge season 1 in time for season 2, which just got announced that it got renewed. So we're very excited for that, excited for Jerrie, and excited for the rest of the cast. Please go watch it. It really is so fun. Also, there's a really great musical parody in it that I didn't hear enough people talking about. So I feel like if you like New York-centric stuff, if you like female friendships, if you like good TV, please go watch Harlem on Amazon Prime.
Also, there is a bevy of theater stars that show
Ooh,
up. And,
yes.
you know, like Andrea Martin, Whoopi Goldberg, Jasmine Guy, Sherry Renee Scott, Kate
That's
Rockwell, Peppermint, Tamara Tooney. That is a fun, like, oh my goodness. It's like watching The Gilded Age, but better because it's entertaining.
Because it's good. And if you didn't get Damian a birthday gift and want to give him something belatedly, here's what it is. Babe, it's a 5-star review on the Apple Podcast app. It's words, it's an emoji, it's an actress name, it's words of thanks and praise, celebrating the show. Anything that you can do on that podcast app would be very helpful. So please, if you have constructive criticism, send it to me privately. Don't send it to Damian because it's still his birthday month, but you can send it to me and I'll relay it softly, gently. And we'll take that 5-star review. Thank you so much. And of course, you know what time it is. Damian, it's a time of the show where we connect this week's guest to next week through a series of women or non-cis performers that they have starred opposite. So, Damian, can you connect this week's guest, Jerrie Johnson, to next week's surprise guest?
I indeed can. Jerrie Johnson was in Harlem with the aforementioned Andrea Martin. Andrea Martin was on SCTV with Catherine O'Hara. Catherine O'Hara was in Beetlejuice with Gina Davis, who was in A League of Their Own with Taya Leone, a wonderful cameo for me because she was before she was a star. I don't think she even has a line.
Very athletic, very athletic. That's why Penny Marshall cast her.
Taya Leone was in Flirting with Disaster with Lily Tomlin, who's in I Heart Huckabees, with Jean Smart, who has a small role, who was also in the first Brady Bunch movie.
Ooh!
With Shelley Long, who was in Troop Beverly Hills with Carla Cugino, who was in Gunpowder Milkshake with Michelle Yeoh, who was in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, with next week's guest.
Oh, God, that was so satisfying. That had so many names that made me go, ooh, 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 ooh. Jean Smart in that first Brady Bunch movie, perfection.
It's like the line readings to me are iconic. I'm going to say this to bring it all back to the same thing. I think that Jean Smart's character in the Brady Bunch movie is very reminiscent of Samantha Jones, her line readings. I think Kim Cattrall got something there. I think Jean Smart in like 10 years before could have been Samantha Jones.
Incredible thing to point out. Absolutely. It's like the hair, the voice, the total vibe, the confidence, like the height, all of it. All of it. Totally
love the Brady Bunch movies. I don't know, like they need to make a third one. I know they did make a third
but
one.
It's not in the same vein.
It's like different. The kids are different, and I'm not interested.
Yeah.
But they need to make a third one. If they're reviving everything, revive that.
They absolutely should, and they should revive it with the same characters, but like doing some like maybe like it would be super meta. But if they did what like the Brady Bunch actors are doing now, if they were playing the actors
like
doing the reality show, yeah. Shelley Long needs to have a comeback. I don't know what the hell. Like, I know she was on
Modern Family,
but it's like, please, just give her a vehicle. Please.
Give her another take. She deserves. Folks, if you like this kind of BS, if you love talking about how Jean Smart could maybe in an alternate universe have played Samantha Jones, then follow us on social media. You can find me at Damian Bellino on all of the things, and that's Damian with an A. And you can find my best friend and co-host here at Rodeman. That's RODEMANNE.
Know Her From is produced by us. That's me, Ann Rodeman, and this beautiful man opposite me on Zoom, Damian Bellino. We want to thank our consultants at Grumpy Entertainment. That is, of course, Jason Jude Hill and Daniel Sears, and every smooth, crisp as lettuce, little edit, snippet, beautiful insert of music that you hear is courtesy of our excellent editor, Daniel Sears.
Also, shout out to Gang. All the music that you hear underscoring each and every episode of You Might Know Her From is by Gang. You can download and stream Gang wherever you listen to your music, so do it.
And if you need to refresh your own memory about who Chubby Checker is, check the show notes, because we're going to have a lot of clips in there for you. That's where I put every single thing that we talk about on the show into the bottom of the episode with links for your viewing and reading and listening pleasure. So I just did my shopping for this new diet that I have to start for 2 to 8 weeks, which is called SIBO, thanks to my gastroenterologist. And as I told you previously, it is a diet for babies. So the things that I can eat include bananas, saltines, white rice, applesauce. This is what I'm going to be consuming for a very long time.
So
I'm going to be deeply
diet.
unpleasant. It's deeply unpleasant. Yes.
Oh my. No alcohol, no coffee, no chocolate, right?
I have to wean myself off coffee. She said, don't go cold turkey, and you're going to die if you do. You have to really go slow. I said, oh, God. I love her. But this diet is going to break me. I've been anticipating it. I waited until after your birthday to start it because I just thought I couldn't deal with it around that time period. But wow, it really is going to be awful. So I'm just bracing you and our listeners for what might be a really rough couple of weeks.
Ay, ay, ay.